Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmitty, Swanee and Clarky visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, how are we?
Very well, very well. It's hard to rebalance after that off-air intro.
Know.
Good job. How about you, Swanee?
Yes, not too bad.
Have you got any news?
I've really got nothing after that.
For our listeners, I updated the guys on a personal thing that was going on that incensed me, and they were equally incensed. And we've calmed down a bit now to do this recording, but that's why we're a little bit in shock from what I talked about. Yeah, so sorry, and I can't share it; it's too personal. Yeah, which must be bad, hey, because I do share quite a lot of personal stuff on this podcast. So no news.
Nope.
Neither have I. In the grand scheme of things, neither have I. Okay, well, I suppose we should introduce ourselves. I'm Schmitty.
I'm Swanee.
And I'm Clarky. And together we are
Trial
by Wine.
And what are we drinking?
I'm on my first Coke Zero of the day.
Oh, delicious.
Yes.
We're having a gin. It's a wild Brumby gin. So we got this when we went up to Jindabyne a few years back.
I don't like gin made of Brumbies, though. I find it a bit thick.
Oh, well, I think it's just made of Brumby toenail offcuts. So it's not like essence of Brumby or anything.
Poor Brumbies.
It's just a classic dry gin.
Sounds lovely.
Not to be confused with a sailor's gin. No, navel gin, what do you call it?
Navel gin.
Navel gin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not drinking a navel gin. I'm on pirate juice, which is,
you had those 3 weeks running. I think you went on the pirate juice.
It was just
a bit
there.
like red wine.
It's because that's the Pepsi.
It's easy.
Sorry,
I thought it was red wine.
That's the cola. No, it's cola and a bit of pirate juice because it was just there, and I was in a terrible hurry because today has run completely out of schedule for me. So I just grabbed it, and I thought I promise I won't get as pished as I did last week. So I'll try anyway. I was a bit on the tipsy side. So you're on gin, I'm on that. So who's got a story for us?
I have. Would you like to hear it?
Love to.
So I'm a little surprised we haven't done this one. Today I'm going to tell you about one of the highest profile cases in Australia this century. I think it's one that every Australian has heard of, and possibly some of our international listeners.
Oh, okay. It's going to be bad then, isn't it?
No one dies.
Oh, okay then. Great.
Yeah. So I think it should be quite the opposite is what I'm going for. So
one day I'm waiting for you to say Ireland the Lat.
So two siblings are on a plane travelling with two of their friends to meet their sister, combining 30th birthday celebrations with a holiday. 16-year-old James Cassina is walking towards customs after his flight landed in Bali. He throws a bag on the counter. The customs official unzips it, and then the 4 passengers are taken into an interview room. The customs officer looks at young James and asks, "Whose bag is this?" He's naive to the seriousness of the situation, but before he gets a chance to respond, he hears the voice of his older sister, Schapelle, say, "That's my bag."
Never say it's your bag. Never say it's your bag. Oh, Schapelle. Oh, Schapelle.
Yes. So this is the story of Schapelle Corby, the Australian woman convicted of trafficking. Sorry, go.
Do you have any paragraphs about the name?
No.
Schapelle.
Where did it come from?
Yes.
I know her sister's name was Mercedes, so,
But what does Schapelle come from?
It's probably
I've never heard of anyone called
a Sharon and Rachel or something.
They couldn't decide.
Let's go. I can't.
It's a pretty name. They just.
It's a pretty name for sure.
They came up. They've just made it up or put two together. I think so. I've never heard of another one.
Oh, it's very French.
Is it like
Schapelle.
chaperone?
It was very hard to take it seriously because of her name, I think. Anyway.
True.
Sorry.
Are you probably going to go into this? I know I lived overseas at the time, and you will go into it, I'm sure. But what year are we? Where are we starting?
2004. I will get into that.
Oh,
but yes.
Okay, right. That's all I needed was that.
Schapelle is the Australian woman convicted of trafficking 4.2 kilograms of marijuana into Bali in a boogie board bag, and she was sentenced to 20 years in jail. This will be a little different to some of our more serious stories, not because it's not a serious story in itself, although I think even through the spectacle of the whole thing that was the case and the story, I found it really hard to take the crime seriously. There was so much media attention and so much scuttlebutt, and there was always something new coming out in my recollection. That it was more about the story than the crime.
I feel like an international listener listening to this because I lived abroad. I know it's so much part of like the Australian psyche, but I feel like I missed out. Do you know what I mean? Because yes, I knew it was happening in the distance, but I wasn't really here for the media hype and the big show that came with it. So when people talk about it and everybody knows everything, sometimes I just sort of go, oh, so I'm really intrigued actually because I don't know the story.
Well, so this should be a good one for you.
Yeah.
And there's a section of this that I've left out that if you want me to talk to you about it, I can try to slot it in. It's just going to be a fairly long story, which is the characters in and around Schapelle. So given that you don't know the story that well, you may want to hear that. If you do, at some point, reach out and I'll run you through it.
Could I ask a question? I don't know if you get onto this. Do you connect Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason to this story at all?
No, I don't.
That came out in 2004, and it's either the most amazing coincidence or not. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I do.
No, I don't.
Bridget Jones goes over and same sort of thing happened to Thailand, and someone says, whose knickers are these? And she says, they're mine. And the next thing she knows, she's been fingered for drug trafficking.
Oh,
I mean,
that's one way to get punished.
And her pen.
It's that or 20 years.
Yeah, exactly what you choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Some little chap on border control. I think I'll do 20 years.
Well, I think the weird thing is that the parallels are there, but then of course this just happened in 2004, so maybe it is just a wild coincidence.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, so there's a lot in the story. I've tried to pick out probably some of the lighter bits. I'll tell you, of course, about the trial and all that sort of stuff. But honestly, there was just volumes and volumes. And there's this whole, I don't know if it's schapellecorby.com or Free Schapelle or whatever it is, but there is heaps and heaps and heaps. And I didn't want to get too involved in the crime itself because that's not the story. Anyway, I'm going to so Schapelle also, through this, seems to have kept up her sense of humour post-conviction. So hopefully she approves of that approach rather than the story. But first up, as this is a true comedy... as this is a true crime comedy podcast, I thought I'd get the juices flowing with a couple of Schapelle-themed jokes. Okay. Are you ready?
Okay, yes. As I'll ever be.
Did you hear about the new fragrance for women? Smells like a Bali jail. It's called Schapelle No. 5.
Oh.
Okay.
Going back to the name. Oh. Yeah.
How about, apparently there's a new sign in the front window of Schapelle's beauty parlour. It says back in 20.
That's mean.
Have you heard the new motto for Schapelle Corby's beauty salon? For women who've lost their appeal.
Oh. Did she actually have a beauty salon?
I was going to say, was she a beauty therapist?
She was a beauty therapist. So that was one of the things about her. So
I think you've got to treat it. Swanee and I honestly don't know much about her.
Yeah,
you're right.
I think I do. I completely didn't realise this. Let me go with the jokes and then we'll get into a bit more of it.
Okay.
Because there's more. Victor have just released a new range of Schapelle Corby lawnmowers. The catcher holds 4.5 kilograms of grass and it's guaranteed for 20 years. Okay, what about Schapelle's beauty salon have a new herbal treatment out? It's guaranteed to take 20 years off your life. And lastly, what's Schapelle Corby's favourite song? Blame it on the boogie board.
Yeah, it's a bit good. Yeah.
So the story of Schapelle's arrest and conviction is one that divided Australia. There was lots of conjecture about her guilt. Did she do it, or was she the victim of someone else's actions? Let me start by telling you, I guess, a little bit about what happened, the trial, and then the subsequent conviction. So it was October 2004, and Schapelle was 27 at the time.
It must be a coincidence then.
I mean, maybe she's not the first one. Who knows? While she openly admitted the bag was hers, she strongly denied the drugs were hers. She was arrested on the spot, charged with importing cannabis, and she was imprisoned and ordered to stand trial. The trial began in January 2005, and every move Schapelle made from the prison to the court was followed by the media. Daily updates flooded our news services. Now, Schapelle, as I said, was a beauty therapist. She was pretty, right? She's got these piercing blue eyes, straight dark hair. She always did her makeup very well. She always presented herself very well. And I think because of that, she had media appeal. Such was the public nature of the case that the then Prime Minister John Howard commented, "We will do everything that we are properly and reasonably asked to do to see if any relevant evidence is presented." So he was, it went right up to the top in Australia to get his involvement in it. So at trial, the prosecution case was based on the customs official's testimony that Corby said the bag was hers and that it was found to contain 4.2 kilograms of cannabis. Four customs officials present when her bag was first examined in Bali said she tried to stop the bag being opened. Schapelle's younger brother and two friends that were travelling with her claimed in their testimony that they'd seen her pack the bag before leaving for the airport and that only flippers and yellow bodyboard were inside. The Australian government offered the services of two Queen's Counsel on a pro bono basis. My recollection of the event, and note it is my recollection, was that the whole thing became a bit of a circus in Australia. Not to say there was anything wrong with the way the trial went, but I recall so much rumour, scuttlebutt, misinformation at the time, whether through the media, key players and the public. Everyone had a theory on what happened and it was hard to wade through it all. Schapelle's lawyers argued that she had no knowledge of the cannabis until custom officials at the airport found it. Her defence centred on the theory that she became an unwitting drug courier for what was supposed to have been an interstate shipment of drugs between Brisbane and Sydney in Australia.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a lot of talk about airport baggage handlers putting the drugs in her bag, and claims that cannabis was meant to be removed in Sydney. So they're trafficking it between Brisbane and Sydney. Forgot to remove it because she's flown from Brisbane to Sydney. They forgot to take the drugs out, and then when she's gone to Bali, it's shown up. According to the Sydney Morning Herald, Schapelle flew out of Sydney on the same day, the 8th of October. A large shipment of cocaine was shipped out of the airport by a drug ring involving corrupt baggage handlers. During the week of the 9th of May 2005, several arrests occurred in Australia related to cocaine smuggling through Sydney Airport.
Can I ask, if someone said, yes, actually that was me, I put 4-point-something kilos of grass in that boogie board and I'm in Brisbane and I got arrested for it, would they have been extradited to Indonesia or would they have been tried here?
I couldn't tell you, but I'd be shocked if a crime that occurred in Australia was tried in Indonesia.
Right? So if someone said, well, actually, I did do it. Yeah, but she's done it. If someone said, actually, she didn't do it, she had no knowledge of that being there.
If you posted 4 kilos via Australia Post, you wouldn't be tried in Indonesia, in the place that it went to. You'd be tried here. No government's going to extradite their citizens to do that. If it was if you'd subsequently gone to Indonesia and been caught there, different story. But
so the Indonesians could have said, we don't believe that.
It doesn't matter.
I don't think anyone did.
You don't send your people overseas to be tried. It's where the crime occurs.
Yeah, okay, I get it. But what I'm saying is that, no one came forward and said, "Oh, actually, it was me."
There's a whole lot of rumour and stuff, right, which I'll get to, but it doesn't matter because anything that happened in Australia doesn't happen over there. Her defence claimed that the cannabis was planted in her bag by mistake by baggage handlers. However, the Australian Federal Police Commissioner Mick Keelty stated that a key aspect of her defence was not supported by the available intelligence, and that the cocaine smuggling ring, which had been discovered, involved the reception of shipment of drugs from overseas, not the transportation of drugs domestically. So we've caught people sending drugs into Australia, not shipping between Brisbane and Sydney. And also they were shipping cocaine, not cannabis. So different drug, not the same, international transfer, not domestic.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that someone wasn't doing it, but it's not related to the ring that we caught.
So no evidence, correct, yeah. So, but then at the same point, and I think this was post-trial, I'm not 100% sure, I couldn't really get a date on it, the former head of operations for the Australian Federal Police's Internal Investigation Unit, Ray Cooper, claimed that it was well known within the AFP that some passengers were unwittingly being used to transfer drugs between domestic airports in Australia.
Oh.
So that there's this constant kind of someone comes out and says this and someone comes out and says that, and
it's
trying to work out where the truth was, right? It's well known.
That is interesting about that. I've not ever heard that before, and I've never even given it any thought. But, it's that thing where I'm so careful when I travel internationally about my luggage and having it locked and whatever else. But there's definitely been times where I've, jumped on the flight to Sydney or just thrown stuff in a bag and not, and anyone could have accessed it really. Or even if I had a small lock, and they would have, as you say, interstate. I'd never given that any thought. How naive of me.
And so post this story, lock sales, suitcase lock sales skyrocketed.
Yeah. So, I remember there were people at the airport.
Remember
they used to wrap you,
they would see that.
Charge you to
not
wrap.
Here so much.
But it was a big deal. And I remember, because 2004, right, that was, between 2004 was when I was doing a lot more international travel between the UK and here, and there was always some guy trying to get you to wrap all your suitcases
I remember
up
it very clearly, and lots of people did, and I would often think about it.
I never did it. No. Well, I'm going to England. It's fine. I mean, there's that horrible moment through Hong Kong.
Well, their laws, I think this is one of the things that probably made it such an interesting case.
It is, I think.
Laws for cannabis in Indonesia are very strict, much stricter than what they are in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So then in June 2008, there was a documentary, Schapelle Corby, The Hidden Truth. And Corby's former lawyer, Robin Tampo, said that he fabricated the defence theory that Australian baggage handlers could have planted the drugs in Schapelle's luggage and apologised to them. So he's come out post all of this and said, I made it up.
Sorry, baggage handlers.
Look,
which is it was indefensible job, right?
Yeah, it was indefensible. I had to come up with something.
Yeah, well, but that's their job. They've got to try to provide reasonable doubt, and so an alternative theory that wasn't
pretty confident that she just smuggled grass and got caught. So I had to come up with something, didn't I? That's my job. Yeah. Sorry about that, baggage handlers. Please stop pissing in my bag every time I travel.
He also claimed that former Australian Foreign Minister Alexander Downer told him he suspected Corby's brothers were behind the convicted drug smuggler's crime. And so Tampo was subsequently struck off for misconduct. There was the testimony of John Patrick Ford, a prisoner at Port Phillip Prison who was awaiting trial and was subsequently convicted on unrelated charges. He was flown to Indonesia to give evidence in Schapelle's defence, and he testified that he overheard a conversation in prison between two men and alleged that one of the men planted the marijuana in Corby's body bag in Brisbane with the intention of having the other person remove it in Sydney. He stated that the drugs were owned by Ron Vigenza, maybe, who had been a prisoner at the same jail as Ford. He stated that a mix-up resulted in the marijuana not being removed and subsequently being sent over to Indonesia, all without Schapelle's knowledge. He refused to name the man who he claimed planted the drugs. The prosecution pointed out that his evidence was entirely hearsay and that he was facing trial for several serious offences in Australia. Of course, Vigenza strongly denied any connection.
I know you're sort of not really talking about the crime, you're talking about the carry-on afterwards, but what was the value of that 4-point-something kilos of marijuana at the time? Like, what would it have cost her if she were transporting that for no apparent reason? Or she's just doing it on someone else. But, like, if you were to buy it.
The street value of it, I don't know. It didn't come up
Is
in
a beauty therapist
anything.
going to have 4-point-something kilos of marijuana?
So, no, but like I said, Schapelle presented very well. She seemed to have a very normal life, but...
Do you think it would be different? I'm not close enough to it, because do you think that her name played... I know this sounds like far-fetched, but I think it does.
Us.
I think it plays a role in, like, if her name was...
Janet.
No, I don't know, Melissa.
Mercedes?
No, like Melissa or something. Melissa
Yeah.
or Tracy or something from that era that was... Well, it's probably more my age, but not her age. You know, girls, Melissa, Tracy, Rebecca,
Swanee?
Jessica. Do you think it would have been
A
less...
more ordinary name.
Well,
It makes her sound like a bit of a bogan.
And if she hadn't been so pretty.
The thing about me is it was so fantastical. It was like it was just there was just so much to it that was newsworthy and, scandal kind of story worthy that I think it couldn't help but become public interest. But there are a number of key players, right? So, of course, there's Schapelle. There's her mum, Rosalie Rose. So Rosalie had 6 children and has staunchly supported Schapelle throughout the whole thing. Then there's Mercedes, her sister, who has also been rock solid in supporting her. There's Mercedes' former husband, who was Balinese. They've since split. Mercedes has moved to the Gold Coast. He stayed in Bali. There's Michael Corby Jr., who is Schapelle's brother.
Was Michael Corby Jr. the one that they first said, is this your boogie board, or another older brother?
No, different one.
Right. And was he the one that earlier you said people were suggesting that the brothers were the problem? Was he one of the ones?
So he was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Michael Corby was a big supporter of Schapelle's as well. All her family seemed to support her pretty well. But he'd been fined in the early 70s for possession of 2 grams of marijuana. And after Michael's death, a man called Malcolm Macaulay claimed he was selling hydroponic marijuana to Michael Corby, a claim furiously denied by the Corby family, saying it was a slur on the character of a man who could not defend himself. I should say this is from news.com.au too.
Can I go back a step? Michael Corby, her brother, got in trouble in the 70s for marijuana.
Yeah.
How old was he?
Too much older than her.
Well, she was 27 in 2004.
So she was born in the 70s.
So she was born in the 70s. Yeah. It doesn't say.
Okay, right.
Let's say he was old enough to be dealing drugs. I mean, she was, I think she might have been the youngest. No, she wasn't. She had a younger brother. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So there's the husband. Hang on. Oh, sorry. That was Michael Corby. As I've scrolled through, I've got 2. Yeah, correct. So there's Michael Corby, her father.
Yeah. Right.
I thought it might have been when you were saying that. Yeah.
And he's dead.
Yeah.
And the dad's dead, not her brother.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. So Schapelle's brother previously ran a fish and chip shop at Southport on the Gold Coast. He supported Schapelle and was in Bali at the time of her arrest. He also attended Mercedes' birthday party. He's regularly seen surfing close to Schapelle's boyfriend and Mercedes' estranged husband, James Cassinia. So he was the one that was there. In January 2006, he was arrested in Queensland with two others and charged over a violent home invasion at a Rochdale home in which a package of marijuana was stolen.
But not related.
No, correct. There was, at the time, a sworn affidavit that was tendered to the court alleging that Cassinia was suspected of some involvement in the exportation of cannabis for which his sister had received the sentence, but there was no evidence found to support it. So he ended up being jailed for 4 years. In
for
November
that home
2011,
invasion?
Yeah, but he only served 10 months. He was jailed for 4 years for the crime relating to Schapelle.
Okay, right.
Yeah. In November 2011, Cassinia and another man were charged with burglary and assaulting 2 of the brothers of rugby league star Ben Teo after going to the man's home to confront him over a domestic matter. In 2013, he was fined $750 after pleading guilty to possessing 0.8 grams of cocaine, worth $300. Clinton Rose, Corby's half-brother, in January 2002, he was convicted of in Queensland of drug possession. He'd previously been jailed for a series of 62 burglary, stealing and motor vehicle crimes committed over a 6-month period. At the time of his sentencing, the judge said he had engaged in a campaign of crime showing a complete lack of respect for other people's interests or their property.
Sounds like a feral.
This is the thing, right? So Schapelle presented exceptionally well and made it very hard to, you'd look at her and go, my God, I feel quite empathetic towards her. But you see some of this stuff about her family and go, God, I wonder if any of them might have been involved. So there's Ben Penangan. So this is Corby's Indonesian boyfriend. He was a well-known stand-up paddleboarder. The couple first met in Caribbean Jail in 2006 at the jail's chapel. The pair became a couple in jail and remained close after he was freed. In August 2014, he was arrested and charged with and carriage of marijuana in 3 packages weighing 0.64 grams, 0.99 grams, and 6.58 grams. Very small compared to the 4.2 kilogram haul. Jodie Power, so Mercedes Corby's former best friend, she spent months in Bali supporting Corby after her arrest, but the relationship soured, and in late 2006, she was paid $100,000 by Channel 7's Today Tonight for a tell-all interview about the Corbys.
Today Tonight.
In particular, yeah, right, but Today Tonight, reputable.
Is it the one that Jennifer Kite was on or whatever? She was
what was her name? Jana Vent as well? No, she was...
No,
she was Celia. It must have been Jennifer Kite, yeah. So, to do a tell-all interview, in particular about Mercedes and her mother, Roz, as in Rosalie Rose. In the program, she alleged that Mercedes dealt marijuana and smoked it. Mercedes sued Channel 7 and in a sensational defamation trial, alleging she was defamed in a number of ways, including by the program's claim she was knowingly involved in her sister's drug importation. Rosalie Rose also sued. In the end, the jury found that only that Channel 7 had established that Mercedes had possessed and smoked marijuana in the past, but never dealt in drugs. Channel 7 settled the case with Mercedes and Roz for an undisclosed sum. But so there's a lot of small-time, references to marijuana in and around.
Seems to be a lot of just like scrappy little stuff, I
think if you interviewed my family or investigated my family, you might find the old what was the one I didn't inhale? Yeah. There'd be times where marijuana was in and around us, but never were we buying it or dealing it or any of that kind of thing.
But I think that kind of played out too. Smoked it.
Yeah.
At university, I had friends who liked a spliff and I'd join in.
So I think when you looked at Schapelle, it was hard to see any of the drugs or any of that. Yeah, she just looked, I don't know, in some ways she just looked innocent. But in and around her, there was a lot of stuff to do with marijuana. So there was even talk, and I'm not saying there's any fact to it, but talk that maybe it was one of her family members that had done it so that she could take it over to Bali. And there's people, the family have strong relationships in Bali.
Yeah, they seem to.
Whether it's husbands or whatever. So, it was just a really complex case. So anyway, get back to, what's his name, Ford? What did I say? His name was John Patrick Ford. So his claims were taken seriously and a $1 million reward was offered for information to substantiate his claims. However, nothing was forthcoming. On a side note, following his return from Bali, he was convicted of rape. Subsequently in prison, he was beaten and stabbed and then held in solitary protective custody. Right? Ford's wife stated that this was a consequence of the evidence he gave at Corby's trial. Not sure how true that is, but I mean, the reason I said that is because he wasn't charged with anything relating to drugs. He'd been charged with rape, which is not going to engender any sympathy from the jury, I'm sure. So CCTV cameras at Bali Airport could not corroborate nor contradict Corby's account of what happened in customs. The prosecutor said the tapes were not checked. The defence requested to see them. Corby's mother claims that Schapelle requested the CCTV footage be shown in court, to which the judge replied, "We will use that if we need to."
No.
And apparently the footage was never shown. Computer says no, correct.
No.
The weight of the bags was brought up as a potential way of determining if the bags were tampered with. However, the 4 bags belonging to Corby and her companions were not weighed individually at Brisbane Airport, with a total weight of 65 kilograms being taken instead. The Bali police and customs did not record the weight of the bags, despite requests from Schapelle for them to do so. Corby was obviously hoping that her luggage would, if it was weighed, would show there was an extra 4.2 kilograms in weight, and therefore confirm the cannabis was added after she checked in. That request was denied. Seems like a really interesting request to deny, because it could possibly prove her innocence. And on the 30th of June 2011, a woman came forward who had dated a Brisbane airport baggage handler who had a colleague who had allegedly hid a bag of marijuana. Like, can you narrow it down a little bit?
Too many degrees of separation, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. So then there was some talk around forensic evidence. So 2004, there was a bit of forensic technology around then. So Tim Lindsay of the University of Melbourne, who was an expert in Asian law, suggested that a greater focus on forensic evidence might have helped. So the bag of cannabis was neither fingerprinted by the Indonesian custom officials or police, nor analysed to determine its origin.
So it would have been relatively simple to test the bag for fingerprints, and if she had her fingerprints on it, say, well, you're banged to rights, or there is a question there.
So weighing it would have been interesting. Fingerprinting it would have been interesting. The cannabis was contained in 2 bags, and although the outer bag, this is important, Schmidt, just to that point, although the outer bag had been handled by customs officers, Corby's defence argued that only the bottom of the inner bag had been contaminated. Therefore, it was claimed that fingerprinting of the inner bag could be of value to the defence if it was not shown to possess Corby's fingerprints.
But even if it had been handled by people, you would have taken their prints to take them out of the equation, right? So if it had been handled by customs officials, you would take their prints and
you could eliminate all of them.
Correct. What else is left? Yeah.
Yeah, particularly for the inner bag. The outer bag, you can take that off. Inner bag, very interesting. Just in spite of requests to have the bag tested, including at the time of her arrest, such had not occurred by the time of her appearance in court. A formal request for fingerprinting made after the court appearance was unsuccessful. The prosecution argued that fingerprinting was unnecessary as Corby was found with the drugs in her possession. In 2004, Alexander Downer, the Australian Minister for Foreign Affairs, announced that the Australian government would be requesting permission from Indonesia to test the cannabis to help determine its point of origin. It was argued that testing of the cannabis would have strengthened Corby's defence if it could have been shown that the drugs were grown in Indonesia, or potentially weakened if they were grown in southern Queensland or elsewhere in Australia.
Fantastic. Yeah. This was definitely great.
Yeah. It's great gunge.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Oh, good one.
Oh,
yeah.
It's inconclusive. I better make some cookies. However, shortly thereafter, the Australian Consul General in Indonesia informed Schapelle that the AFP had no jurisdiction in the case, and in early 2005 was advised that the Bali police would not be providing a sample.
Look, love, we've got you banged to rights, and we don't really care if someone else did it. We've found our man, and we're done.
Downer acknowledged that Indonesia had denied the request, but clarified that as the case was in Indonesia, it was their sovereign right to do so. And again, I recall, so it's my recollection, not fact, but I recall there being a lot of stay out of it. This is our case, our laws, our country. We have our own legal process. It works well, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a lot of probably the other side of it of, there's corruption in Bali. Everyone knows it, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of that, the inter-country stereotypes, I guess, playing out. So, Swanee, you like this one too. 3 years later, in 2007, Vasu Rosaya, the case coordinator for Corby's defence team, appeared on Today Tonight to say that he managed to obtain a sample of the cannabis for testing prior to Corby's conviction.
How?
But that Corby did not allow the sample to be tested. So she's apparently saying, no, don't test it because, I don't know, maybe she thinks it'll incriminate her.
From her
maybe she's
backyard,
just sick to
yeah.
death of it by then. But interesting that he goes on Today Tonight. This was similar to earlier claims by Mike Keelty, who in 2005 stated that Corby's legal team had advised the AFP that they did not wish to have the drugs tested when it became apparent that the results of the tests would be shared with Indonesia. I mean, isn't that the whole point? In both cases, these versions of events were disputed by Schapelle's family, who insisted that it was the Indonesian police who turned down the request and that they wished to have the drugs examined by Australian authorities. So she's got 20 years. She made a number of pleas to be released. At the defence's last address to court, Schapelle, this is in 29th of April 2005, she said to the three judges, I cannot admit to a crime I did not commit. And to the judges, my life at the moment is in your hands, but I would prefer if my life was in your hearts. And, Your Honour, I ask of you to show compassion and find me innocent, to send me home. And then she said, Saya tidak bersalah, which is I am not guilty in Indonesian. The verdict to her trial, the verdict in the trial was broadcast live on television in Australia, and the Nine Network's television coverage was also broadcast live in New Zealand. I mean, that doesn't happen very often, right? It was quite unusual for that media coverage. The coverage included the 80-page trial outline, the verdict and sentencing. On the 27th of May, she was found guilty and sentenced to 20 years in jail. She was also fined 100 million Indonesian rupiah, which is about $12,663, with an additional 6 months if she didn't pay it. The defence and prosecution appealed separately to the High Court, with the defence appealing for a retrial and the prosecution appealing for life imprisonment. So they've got their sentence and they both go and appeal. And I don't know if you've seen it, but for me, I can see it as clear as day. The footage of Schapelle hyperventilating in the courtroom, slapping the back of her forehead with her palm whilst blinking back tears.
And then there's her forehead. So is that like the back of a palm?
Sorry,
back of a head.
Yeah, correct. Back of a head. I don't even know. Oh, that's where I got back from. So I've read back from the line below. Do you ever do that? I do it all the time. Repeatedly slapping her forehead with her palm whilst blinking back her tears. So
okay, that makes more sense. It wasn't her back in the back of her
tears. Yeah, God, I know that.
I was like, I can't say that footage is coming back.
I had this in my head.
I remember
that.
What about the one where she rubs her belly and taps the top of her head?
At the same time,
and then there's the shots of her behind bars. So she's, sitting there, big blue eyes beaming out. You just can't not see them. And then, of course, after the verdict was announced, her mother, Rosalie Rose, yes, as I said earlier, I think that is her real name, we swore on the Bible to tell the truth, but you're all full of lies, is what she yelled in the court. And it's funny because, like I said, Schapelle presented very well. You didn't have to go too far past Schapelle to see a lot of bogan Aussie, and I don't know.
As I say, to find the inner bogan.
I don't know how bogan Schapelle was before this, and whether there was a lot of
how much
her trying to be quite classy for the trial.
She would have been coached by the defence team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I don't know whether she was much rougher before that or not. I don't know enough about her prior to that. Anyway, so Rosalie yelled out. Back in Australia, the Free Schapelle campaign kicked off. gathering momentum. You're all a bunch of cocksuckers. Angry callers phoned in to talkback radio programs to demand her release. There were even calls for a boycott of Bali. God, could you imagine?
Yeah, that would have really upset people.
So the first appeal led to Bali's High Court reducing the sentence to 15 years, so from 20 to 15. Both sides again appealed to Indonesia's Supreme Court, and on the 19th of January 2006, the Indonesian Supreme Court overturned the 5-year reduction in her sentence.
Oh, I was going to say she didn't get 5. I was like, they keep going like this. Like, how many appeals they got to do?
Yeah, but they reinstated the original 20.
That's what it is.
On the back of photos showing Schapelle with an alleged drug smuggler. Apparently,
her boyfriend.
I don't know if it was her boy. I don't think it was her boyfriend. But I'll tell you what happened. So apparently, in December 2005, a joint South Australian and Queensland police operation had seized photographs of Corby with a man charged with marijuana smuggling after a police search of the alleged dealer's home. It was reported in the media that the photos had been taken prior to Corby's arrest in Bali. After the reports, Rosalie Rose flew to Adelaide, entered police headquarters and demanded to see the photos. Funnily enough, they didn't show them to her. She alleged that the photographs were taken with Corby in a prison in Bali. In January 2006, the man in the photographs, Malcolm Macaulay, told Adelaide Now that he had visited Corby in Bali twice in 2005, although only as a tourist to offer support during her trial.
Fuck off, Malcolm.
Imagine how many tourists she got visiting her. Yeah, because that's what you would really want the Indonesian government watching you going, who's going to visit Schapelle?
And the thing is, it's not
it's
a reputable person. It's someone who's dealing drugs, which is what she's been charged with. Like it's never going to look good. It's like being a raper of underage girls and having Jeffrey Epstein come and visit you. Like it's not a good look. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. What?
Yeah.
It's just a bad look, regardless of what's going on. He said he first met Schapelle at her court hearing in May 2005. I don't know how you meet someone at a court hearing and then get close enough to them to come back and visit them. He said that Corby's mother invited him to visit Corby at Kerebakan prison the following day. Despite claims that the photos had been taken prior to her arrest, he said they were taken at an empty fish pond at the prison where the two had been permitted by prison guards to sit and talk. After all of this... I don't
understand this. Surely the prison people would have gone, these photos are taken in prison. This has gone to the court. The court's gone, we're putting an extra 5 years on because...
Yes.
Because you're talking to this guy, but you're talking to this guy in jail.
Yeah,
or is we're still going to punish you for it because he's a drug smuggler? So you're continuing on your nefarious naughtiness.
Their system is a lot about... Well, I don't know a lot about the system. I don't know anything about their system, but I think it's more about how bad it looks is my understanding of it, right? That's
what I mean. You have to show that you're totally pure.
You're saying you're innocent, blah, 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 and then you have a drug dealer come and visit you in prison. Stop
It's like someone's mum's in charge of it going, look.
It's reputation management.
Yeah.
Someone will see you.
She needed a PR person the whole time. No, you can't visit with him. I've got your visitors, your tourist visitors today, and I've done a background check. And no, you can't have Mr. Macaulay because he's a drug smuggler. Correct. And you'll get an extra 5 years.
And why is a drug smuggler coming to see you? No.
Oh, Rosalie.
So after all of this, the court ordered that the bodyboard bag and drugs be destroyed, signalling the case was now closed. So I think they're just like, I'm fucking sick of it.
Outrageous. Yes,
because
but also
all they've done,
I don't care. They were like,
all they've done is they think they've caught someone with 4.2 kilograms of marijuana, and then it becomes this international spectacle media circus.
Yeah, wow. Shut up, you lot.
Sick of it. Sit down, Rosalie. We're not full of lies.
And even if we are, we don't care. We're over it. The court's decision's final. Deal with it, okay?
In August 2006, Corby and her legal team made an extraordinary appeal to the Denpasar District Court. The basis of the appeal was a letter submitted from an Australian government official that said CCTV cameras were operating at Sydney Airport on the day she left and indicated that she hoped that the footage would show drugs being put into Corby's bag.
Right.
Now, Corby's lawyers also said that the trial court did not have evidence of actual ownership of the drugs and thus erred in convicting her. So just because they're in her possession. Have you ever heard that saying possession is 9/10 of the law?
Yeah.
Like you're in possession of them. I don't think they need to show that you owned them.
They've got a receipt and bought them.
You probably need to prove that they belong to somebody else. I don't know. The judges agreed to wait 10 days to allow for footage to be presented before sending the record to the Supreme Court. However, no footage has been shown to exist. So there's just all these random people coming up and not presenting anything direct. It's just all this. I heard somebody said that they might have, and then
my sister's cousin's friends. Yeah,
exactly that.
Said that they were in a shop and they overheard someone who was not related to them, who might have been Michael McCauley, saying that, maybe that someone at the airport, maybe who I don't know, had a colleague who maybe said that one day that they had seen something that someone else said that they'd seen about something going in a bag.
And so
cool, I'll follow that lead down. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, have you got their contact number? So the Indonesian government or the legal system is going to be hearing that shit and going,
fuck off. Get some actual evidence.
Come back to me when you got some evidence. Yeah, I don't want to hear it.
At the same time, though, something much more serious was happening with Bali.
What that?
The Bali 9 was.
So that was just after. That was after. Yeah.
That's cocaine.
And that's another one that we could do. But Renee gets a mention in this.
Oh, okay.
So wait for it. So for those who don't know, Renee was one of the Bali 9. Renee Lawrence, and I'll give you a little bit of what she said later.
She said, what a lot of shit. Watch us with our 18 kilos of coke.
Yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet. So she received a total of 27.5 months reduction on her original 20-year jail term. And I thought you'd like to know how that came to be. So she received remissions totaling 3 months in 2006 as part of Indonesia's Independence Day and Christmas.
Oh.
But these were reversed in 2007.
It's our birthday. You get the reduction.
Yeah, but these were reversed in 2007.
Did Indonesia decide they were a Christian country? At that point,
they're not, but it doesn't matter. It's part of both.
I know, no more Christmas presents for you. We're a Muslim country.
No. They reversed it in 2007 after Schapelle was found to be in possession of a mobile phone. It just seems very flippant. On subsequent Independence Days, she was granted remission of 3 months in 2008, 4 months in 2009, 5 months in 2010 and 2011, and 6 months in 2012. In addition, she was granted an additional 45 days off her sentence at Christmas in 2010. I don't understand the use of Independence Day to reduce sentences.
I can't say I've ever heard that in any other story.
Family thing. It's just an Indonesian thing. But Swanee, did you just say it's like their parents?
Yes, it's like parents going, I'm going to give you this if you ever have
good behavior.
Well, I'm taking it back. No, you were told.
Yeah, that's right. I told you no on the mobile phone.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you want from Indonesian Independence Day this year? Could I have 6 months off my sentence?
Well, only if you don't have a phone.
Have you been seen? Have you had any visitors that I've asked you not to take?
Have you been naughty or nice?
Yeah. This is crazy. I've never heard of such a thing.
It's funny. And it might just be the day that they review your year, like a report card, as a prisoner and go, all right, on Indonesian Independence Day, that's when we announce whether you've been naughty or nice and whether you get sentence added or subtracted. I don't know.
Is that like in the American system where, for no apparent reason, that the president can pardon people?
That's normally as you're about to finish.
Don't they do it as they're leaving?
As they're leaving, that happens.
But that's like every 4 years, hopefully, please God. So they're leaving a term, so they might actually pardon people.
No, this is much more of a bonus, like how you've worked that year.
Yeah,
and
it's
they
a,
go,
it's a true
What's
true
the bonus
bonus,
structure
isn't it?
this year? Well,
It's good, isn't it?
You've got to pay
Yeah.
us because you had a
how'd you
mobile
go?
phone.
How'd you go this year? Oh, what are you
Yeah.
You're a
hoping
very
for?
naughty
What do you think? What do you
girl.
think you're going to get? Well, I don't know.
You know the rules. You're not supposed to have a mobile phone, so we'll be taking some of that time
Fuck.
back, you naughty
Which one
girl.
of you scrags told them about the mobile phone?
Yeah, I've got another
Fucking
penalty.
bitches.
So she was granted parole on the 7th of February 2014 and released on the 10th of February of the same year after having served 9 years in Karabakan prison. So she
I'm sure
didn't
it's not
make it
pleasant.
20.
Good for her, because it must have been awful.
Yeah. It was described, I think, as an absolute, a really
Hellhole.
tough. Yeah, I was going to say hellhole, and I thought maybe that's not fair, but really a bad place, not a Australian prison where you get to watch TV and.
Stop it. Someone told me the other day that they're going to give them mobile phones and laptops, apparently, in prison.
What?
Genius.
What could go wrong? That may be a subject for a later episode. I was going to say, did either of you see I think it was a 3-part mini-series with Nicole Kidman in it many years ago. I think I've talked
Bangkok
about it before.
Hilton.
Bangkok Hilton.
Yeah.
Are you
And the
kidding
whole
me?
time
That had a massive impact on my whole life.
Same, right? And that's why I've always been very careful going through Asian countries.
Well, it's just come again
Yeah.
recently, because having just been to Thailand, I was explaining to my husband that when I went to Thailand the first time, I had to meet my girlfriends there. They were traveling on after the trip. They were spending more time in Thailand, then they were moving to the UK, whereas I was doing a trip to Thailand for a number of weeks, back to Sydney, and then a number of months before I moved to the UK. So we didn't fly together, and I had to arrive there on my own. My luggage to this point, which was Bangkok Hilton, because I was so terrified. My dad, bless him, had used cable ties on every single part of my bag because I was backpacking. I couldn't get into my bag when I got there because every single thing had to be cut to open every single zipper.
The baby was tied off.
And we'd know, Dad's theory was you'd know if someone had tampered with it because you couldn't put a zip tie back on it as opposed to a lock that might open and close.
Did he use bright green fluoro because that'd be harder for someone to
Harder
replace?
to match.
Terrified.
Yes.
I was terrified. I really, really was.
I could not put a can opener up my hoo-ha. Do you not remember in Bangkok Hilton they used to use their
I don't remember any of it now, but at
their
the time
downstairs purse, let's put it that way. Because they were
used to
putting
bank it.
I just remember this. No, I remember this. This is what stuck with me. Part of it, because at one point she puts a key or something up herself to smuggle it to somewhere else. I don't remember the story, but I remember being horrified.
Same here. Oh my God.
What it would be like to be in that prison. And that's when Schapelle, just what it's point about us being overseas. Anytime I heard about this story, I just kept thinking, oh, God, that poor woman, like Bangkok Hilton.
There's that, and there's also a movie which, again, I don't think I've ever watched, but we had the video in our house, and the artwork used to something, Midnight Express. Midnight Express, which I believe is a Turkish prison. My parents watched that. Turkish prison, again, for drug dealers. But the joke I used to want to really make, because I was terrified, which was Bangkok Hilton for Australians I would talk about, and Midnight Express for, like a foreign audience, when I was talking about how chicken shit I was and how terrified I was to travel when I first became a young adult, to go through any Asian countries. I'd just be terrified. So I was convinced someone was going to plant drugs on me, convinced.
Or even if you don't, they're going to tell me off for something. And also you're going into an Asian country. Like I remember the first time I went through, I think it was Bangkok, and they've got submachine guns, right? I'm like, fucking hell, this is serious. Singapore, same thing. They're all armed, and you're like, it's just. Although having said that, I've seen much more armed police at our airport these days, but in those days, I didn't really note it at home. It's probably because home felt so safe, but you'd go into these places and it was like the military were there, and
they were.
It just been exposed to media things like Bangkok Hilton that made you go, Jesus. And I don't think I had a Bud Tingwell, whatever is, Bud Tingwell kind of solicitor on my side who was going to get me out of it.
So part of her parole conditions,
she's finally out. Yeah.
She had to sign in August 2013 agreeing that she would not use or distribute drugs. She'd report at least monthly to Bali Corrections Board, and she allowed for periodic inspections of her home. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, God.
That's right. I seem to recall she was still resident there. Yep.
Oh,
okay.
God.
Which I don't think was as bad for her. So she ended up staying at a Mercedes house, I think.
Yeah.
So her parole conditions did not require her to admit any responsibility for the marijuana found in her possession in 2004. For the duration of her parole period, she was not allowed to leave Indonesia and required permission from the Justice Ministry to travel to other parts. So
to do anything,
stuck there. Yeah.
And she's maintained her innocence always, you're saying?
Yeah. And her parole period ended on the 27th of May 2017. Her release attracted news coverage around the world, including in Japan, New Zealand, UK, and the US. There's some other notable shenanigans that I wanted to share with you.
Did she move back to Australia then, do you know?
She did.
She did. Yeah. So several days after the trial verdict, a letter was delivered to the Indonesian embassy in Canberra containing an unknown substance. Remember the anthrax attacks that happened in 2001 post September 11? So the substance was later found to be a non-toxic and was considered a hoax. However, the embassy was shut down for decontamination, and with negotiations on a prisoner exchange agreement between Australia and Indonesia about to begin, the government condemned the actions, saying they were related to the Corby case. Sorry, if they were related to the Corby case, they wouldn't help. And the Indonesian Foreign Ministry described the attack as a sorry and cowardly attempt at intimidating Indonesia, and said Indonesia would not succumb to such a threat. So it's quite interesting that gets related back to this case.
It's weird because I can tell you what it could have been. So back in 2001, when anthrax was plaguing the world, and I can't remember who was being attacked by anthrax, but I know that it was this anthrax thing.
A lot of it came after September 11.
Yeah, it did.
I worked
post, a lot of it was being posted.
But I can't remember where the anthrax was being posted to, what country it was in, or it was just worldwide.
A lot in America, but
US.
I thought it was mostly US, but okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, heightened awareness of anthrax as a threat. And I was working for Virgin Mobile at the time, and I was the loyalty manager. And we did a mailer out to about 1 million people, which
with white
included
powder.
a little
I remember
of
this
sherbet sweets, which when
I
crushed
remember
accidentally
this.
turned into
white powder.
And before we sent this out, it was ridiculous actually. It was like an A3 with this thing in it. I got the logistics team to contact Royal Mail, and they ran some samples through to make sure that the sweets wouldn't be crushed. Not because I was concerned about people thinking that I was posting them anthrax, but because I didn't want the sweets to be crushed because it would ruin the effect. So thankfully I did that, because we then got a call from the Daily Mail or someone like that to say,
I remember
the Royal Mail sorting house in somewhere, London, whatever, was shut down today because they found a unknown powder coming from a letter, which may or may not have been ours, and these poor people had to be disinfected. So they had, you imagine people coming in with the white coat, the whole white outfits, and so they disinfected it. I found out later that it actually apparently wasn't my mailer that did this, but my boss comes up, she goes, "Oh, just FYI, the thing you just sent to 1 million households. Well, it shut down a sorting house in Royal Mail in London." And I remember standing there. We were near a photocopier, and I put my hand on the photocopier to steady myself, and I said, "Do you require my resignation?" And she said, "Oh no, don't be ridiculous." And I was like, "Okay," but I thought, fucking hell, what have I just done? She said, no. Anyway, it turned out days later we found out it wasn't me, but it is one of my fabulous anecdotes about the time I shut down a Royal Mail sorting thing because of an anthrax.
I do remember it.
Just a little roll of sweets, what it can do in the world. Yes.
During the trial, Schapelle wrote to the Australian Prime Minister John Howard saying, "As a father and as a leader, I plead for your help. I did not do this. I beg for justice. I don't know how much longer I can do this. Please bring me home."
And he said, hopefully about 9 years.
John Howard said, "I feel for her. I understand why there's a lot of public sympathy for her. I would simply say that I hope justice is done and it's a fair and true verdict. I would ask the rhetorical question, my fellow Australians, if a foreigner were to come to Australia and a foreign government were to start telling us how we should handle it, we would react very angrily to that.
100% is absolutely right.
And interestingly, the Australian Labor Party, so for those who don't know, John Howard was the leader of the Liberals, so the opposition. They generally supported the government's approach to this case in not wanting to interfere in Indonesia's judicial system. So that was back in the days when we could have a bipartisan approach to something.
Oh,
Can you recall what our relationship with Indonesia was like at the time?
Well, I think it was a little more tense because there had been the Bali bombings and there was that whole terrorism kind of thing. And, you know, Indonesia has such a big population and such a big Islamic population. And I think people felt a little bit threatened by that. I don't think that people were super impressed with the way that the Bali bombings were handled from a legal perspective. So a couple of years later, there's this another big high-profile case showing up in the media.
I'm not sure about how Australia really views Indonesia, and so I think that had some bearing on this case. And I completely appreciate the Indonesian government saying, piss off, mate.
Oh, 100%. And you respect John Howard for saying what he said.
I do. I don't like him for any other reason, but I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you respect the opposition party coming out and saying the same thing. Interestingly, the Australian Greens leader Bob Brown criticised the verdict. I think he was a bit pro the gunge, so he was probably a little annoyed that he couldn't get in here or it was going to make it harder for him. I don't know. Next notable shenanigan, a number of Indonesian anti-drug campaign activists and politicians have criticised what they say is a light sentence and subsequent 5-year reduction. Ahmed Yani, a member of the minority Islamic United Development Party, said that Schapelle deserves the death penalty. We lose 50 children to drugs every day. Is that not the same as rewarding an enemy who has killed our children? So I thought that's a really interesting, that's the hardline anti-drug
That's why they had the
stance.
hardline. That's right, yes.
Correct, yeah. And it doesn't, of course there's the talk of him being in the Islamic United Development Party, blah, blah, blah. But I think back in the day in Australia, certainly when I was growing up and going to high school, there was a lot of talk about drug dealers and should they be the ones put to death and blah, blah, blah because of what they're doing. So it's interesting.
I get where he's coming from, but my problem with that stance is I don't think there was actually enough evidence to put her to death. I think she showed up and there was a boogie bag, which she said was hers. They said there's drugs in it. She said, I didn't put them there. All of the stuff you talked about earlier about not doing the testing, not doing all that. There's like if they could say absolutely your fingerprints were all over it, bang to rights, and then yes, you have to deal with the repercussions of knowingly taking drugs into a country that has a zero tolerance about it and a death penalty, and that's the risk associated. I just don't think there was enough evidence that Schapelle herself did it. So I don't think you could have given her a death penalty, even if you hate drug dealers. Right. I just don't think you could. Yeah.
But she was found guilty, so people are going to say she's found guilty, therefore she should have got the. And I'm not necessarily saying I agree with that, but that's the hardline stance, right? But
I'm
the
not
other
a
thing for me is
death penalty, but you've got to respect countries' views and stuff. Yeah.
Well, and also, what's a drug dealer? Is it someone who has 4.2 kilograms of marijuana? Is it someone who has a kilogram of ice? Because there's drugs and drugs, and I don't know. Well, I don't think.
I get where you're coming from, and you're right. When he says 50 kids die every day of drugs, is he talking about kids who are smoking marijuana or eating marijuana?
Correct.
Or is he talking about a different?
Or something
However,
a whole lot worse.
I will say, just as PSA, I know multiple people who have treated marijuana as this fantastic, recreational drug and ended up with absolute psychosis.
Yeah,
it is not a safe drug. And so kids out there, I've got to tell you, it's not a thing that won't affect you if you do it regularly all the time for years. It will have an impact on you. It's not the same as meth, I think. It's not as devastating, but it is devastating if you end up in a psychotic thing.
I hope your message has really resonated with our very young audience who will no doubt be listening and going,
that's Australia's drug problem solved.
Just on the off chance
that
someone listens to me somewhere, I'm saying because I hear it all the time, right? I hear people talk about marijuana like it's a nothing, but it actually has quite significant especially if you're predisposed to mental illness,
Yes.
it can be really, really devastating. And I don't think people talk about that enough. I think people just see it as like this light thing. Now, I get what you're saying. Like from the Indonesian drug problem, it's probably not what's killing 50 kids a day, but it still has its place in a hierarchy of, that's why it's still a Class A drug. It's not a legalized drug yet. I want to see what the impact is in 5-10 years' time of the legalization of marijuana in the US, because I listen to, unlike Swanee, I do listen to podcasts. I listen to people who have already talk about their mental illnesses. They talk about how they're on this and that and what well, at the risk of suggesting that there are certain generations who are a bit fucking neurotic. Anyway, they're all diagnosed with something, and so they're all on fucking drugs, right? Whether they're prescription or otherwise. And prescription marijuana has become the new thing. It's like, oh, I've got a gummy. Oh, I'm so high.
Yeah.
Let's wait and see what the end state of that is in 5 to 10 years, because personally, I think it's actually quite dangerous.
At the risk of riling you, we all also know it's a gateway drug. So,
thank you. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
So then, last notable shenanigan in 2014. This is your one, Schmitty. Renee Lawrence, an Australian who had also been convicted of drug smuggling and had served part of her sentence in the same jail as Schapelle, said that Schapelle had confessed to her of having prior knowledge of the drugs being in the bag, and that Schapelle said she had completed the same international drug run successfully without detection twice before.
Yeah.
Renee, that wasn't a very nice thing to say. Why
Renee, what happens in Karabakan stays in Karabakan. Don't
Correct.
say anything.
You sound like a bit of a bitch, Renee. Why did she say that?
What was the benefit for her to say that?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe she's got sick of the bullshit.
How did she present to the media? Like less packageable than Schapelle?
Well, I think the Bali Nine's trial was, whilst it was highly publicised, it was a lot less controversial. It was so they were found with drugs strapped to them
because there was no question.
Oh, okay.
And so their trial was more about should they be put to death or not.
Wow.
Not are they guilty or are they innocent.
Yeah. Okay.
Possibly she was thinking that all this carry on about Schapelle being innocent, and she's told me she's done it and she's done the run twice before. What a load of old shit. Maybe there was truth to it. Maybe it was sour grapes. I don't know.
Sour grapes. I like that.
Yeah.
And everyone loved her in prison.
Yeah.
And, you know, when they did Like a Virgin, just like in Bridget Jones' Edge of Reason, they were all about Schapelle. And no one talked to me at all. Yeah,
I think that's just a case of sour grapes, girls. Sounds like.
And you know what? I can put a
go and write it in your diary. And
I'm
keep
speaking on behalf of Renee. I can put a can opener up my hoo-ha.
I bet Roz would have said, "Shut your mouth, you scrag." Can opener up your hoo-ha. God.
That's the only thing I can remember.
I don't remember that at all, but I wouldn't necessarily.
I'm sure there was a can opener up someone's hoo-ha.
Probably. You're not going to have made it up, I wouldn't have
But it wasn't one of those, like, big ones. Like, it wasn't one of those.
Wasn't a magic
can. Was it a magic can?
Do you remember the advert did the can?
What about the electric ones? It wasn't an electric one.
Yeah. Oh.
I think the really old school ones that like had a really sharp end that you pushed in.
Yeah.
Like my nana had one of those. I reckon it was one of those. Yeah, I reckon it was one. It wasn't even one with a little
a magic can would have been a bit smoother ride.
You don't want it going off. It could do some damage.
I do not want a can opener anywhere near my hoo-ha of any variety, FYI.
Correct. So public opinion on Schapelle's guilt varied. At the time of Corby's arrest in 2004, most Australians believed her to be innocent. Subsequently, an AC Nielsen poll published in June 2005, a week after her verdict, found that opinion was divided as to whether she was guilty or not, but there was a perception that the trial had not been carried out fairly. A Morgan poll at the same time found that 51% of Australians believed she was not guilty. However, in August 2010, a Nielsen poll found that 1 in 10 respondents believed her to be innocent. 41% thought she was guilty.
10%.
And there's probably, 10% thought she was innocent. 41% thought she was guilty. And the article I read said 48% didn't know, but possibly 48% didn't give a shit.
Couldn't give a shit.
They were
Yeah, they were just
sick
over
to
it.
hearing about it.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Schapelle, come on. Bring us some new news. Yeah.
So as you can imagine, Schapelle featured in the media post her conviction and in reality TV post her release. A documentary concerning her arrest, trial and imprisonment, Ganja Queen, was produced by Janine Hosking and Steve Hosking in 2007.
I hope you watched that as part of your research, Clarky. I hope you watched it.
Ganja Queen. Like, can you turn it up? In early 2009, publicity agent Stephen Moriarty was appointed to represent the Corby family. A deal was agreed with New Idea magazine for a series of front cover stories to be published throughout the year. The deal was thought to be worth $100,000. Now, this bit I didn't know. I had absolutely no idea of it. And Swanee, you were asking about my research. In January 2018, Corby released a pop song titled Palm Trees with singer-songwriter Nat Zeleny on Instagram. She released it on Instagram.
God.
It came with a homemade video clip featuring photos of Corby in Queensland after she came back to Australia. And I was compelled to go and look at it, and you can see it on YouTube, featuring B-grade music and lyrics such as, I'm in Queensland and it's sunny, I have the palm trees behind me. It understandably didn't become a hit. If you're interested in listening to it, a quick Google search of palm trees, Schapelle Corby, will bring you the YouTube clip. And there's also a parody clip that's worth a giggle.
Oh, it sounds terrible.
It's honestly, it's got a shitty beat. It's got terrible lyrics, and the homemade film clip. It's like that, but worse.
What's her name, Rachel something?
In 2010, it was announced Schapelle would be participating, and you probably remember this, in the Seven Network's reality program SAS Australia.
Thank you. I've been waiting for you to get here. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
She was I didn't watch it, but I did read that she was a very popular contestant. But she chose to bow out fairly early after being forced to sprint in the mud as punishment for another contestant talking back to the soldiers.
It's just like prison when I had a mobile phone.
She wasn't SAS. Upon leaving, she said, "Staff, my time has come. I've had enough. I can't run this for 1 second longer." And then,
I'm amazed that she didn't have more resilience. After 9 years in an Asian jail, you would have thought she'd be like, I'm going to own you, bitches. I'll show you how it's
she's
done.
Just gone,
Give me a can
this.
opener.
Not mud. Don't you know who I am? I'm a beauty therapist. I'm not running in mud because someone else back chatted. I've already done.
Do you need me
I've done
to open a can for you? Allow me to show you the Bali way.
I've done nearly 10 years for something I didn't do. I'm not running through mud for something I didn't do. No.
Bullshit. No,
and then in March,
the point of being on these things is to make money and continue notoriety, right? So
continue
giving
celebrity.
up that quickly. Notoriety. Yeah. Her celebrity is through notoriety.
Yeah.
So in fairness,
I'm not correcting you. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, it's a little bit of a slant in a different direction, but yeah. Also, I kept spelling her name wrong because I thought it was spelled C-H.
No, it's like shrapnel.
No,
it's shrapnel.
Yeah, it's Sharon and Rachel.
You are right. It is
with a P in the middle. Full of P.
Yeah. Yes. No, I saw ads for that, and I was disappointed she did duck out early, and I thought she would have had more grit. Poor form,
and
Schapelle.
Then, lastly, in March 2021, it was confirmed that Schapelle had joined Dancing with the Stars. She was partnered with Shay Mountain. I had to Google Shay Mountain to see if she was partnered with a boy or a girl.
The Mountain, yeah.
Talk about Schapelle and Shay dancing off in Dancing with the Stars. They were the third couple to be eliminated following a dance-off.
Oh, that's disappointing. That's
Do you remember
early
the fast-forward
on,
joke with the character that is the stand-up of Danny Minogue? And they go, "Oh, we're going to have a sing-off." And Danny Minogue goes, "Well, that's fantastic, because if there's one thing I know how to do, it's sing off." I feel like Schapelle got to that point with the dance
She
off.
said, I had a lot of time for ballroom when I was in jail.
Yeah.
Wait until you see
Oh,
this
I
happen.
misunderstood. I thought you meant dance really badly, not have a murder on the dance floor type event.
I mean, look, in all fairness, would you say she was 27?
Mm-hmm.
You find yourself in jail suddenly. Whether or not you deserve to be there remains to be debated. And then you're 9 years, so she's 36, she gets out, and then she hangs around in Bali. So she's 40-ish when she comes back. I'm pretty sure that her clientele from her beauty therapy business have gone. So she's not going to be a beauty therapist anymore. She's going to find a career for herself. So you kind of understand why you go down this celebrity / notoriety.
I didn't tell you.
Yeah.
She had a beauty therapy or beauty salon in jail, so she's doing all the scrags,
or the ladies,
makeup and stuff. Yeah,
excuse me, she was doing all the ladies. Yeah.
I bet she was.
Yeah. So
it's like Orange is the New Black.
The point of that is she possibly could have, but she chose the celebrity route because that whole thing gave her this enormous celebrity. Yeah.
It's a platform, right? I don't blame her for capitalising. I just blame her for bowing out of dancing or being shit at dancing. And also SAS. I just thought you'd have more grit, love.
It's running through the mud. It's not even, something bad.
The shit you would have had to get through in a prison cell. Surely that's like, well,
I think it was more that she had to do it because someone else did it. I am not guilty of this, and I'm not going to do the time again.
I mean, if she's truly not guilty, it's been a terrible turn for her life.
Yeah.
It's been awful. If what Renee said is true, and she did do it twice and then she got stung for it, I don't feel terrible. You get what you get and you don't get upset, right? You're lucky you didn't get the death penalty. Knowingly going into a country that has zero tolerance for drugs and being arrogant enough, if that is what she did, to think, I'll just take this in here and I'll just claim innocence, So, and there's a part of me that just goes, I feel it's far-fetched to suggest that baggage handlers were just passing drugs around everywhere. But I'm prepared to give her the benefit of the doubt, but because there wasn't enough investigation done to prove one way or the other, in my mind.
I think there was a lot of, the government gave 2 Australian QCs to help her case. There was a lot of support. Australian law in the case, because, and I think that was probably a little bit offensive to the Indonesian. You should do this. This is how you should conduct the investigation.
I don't blame them for
you
being
need
offended.
To fingerprint. You need to do blah blah blah. They're going. Our law is you're fucking caught with it.
You show up.
Just wait to Indonesian Independence Day, and we'll tell you what's happening.
Yeah, that's right.
And it will change a little bit for next year. We'll let you know what's happening on Indonesian Independence Day.
Just be a good girl. Don't be bad.
100% right. And that is the gift we give you for being a good person, right? For doing the right thing. That is the contract that you are now in. You're lucky you're not fucking dead. We might have this position that, who cares? But actually, no, in that country, absolutely they care. Have some respect.
Yeah, it's exactly that. You're in their country, their laws. So it's hard to know, though, whether she did it or not. And I find it really hard even...
I'm still none the wiser. Yeah.
Without going through there's a massive document that was on the Schapelle Corby website as to credible evidence that makes you go, there you go, she did it. And there's certainly nothing that makes me go, she didn't do it. Yeah. There's a lot of rumour, but no evidence. And
I'd have to say, we've talked about Occam's razor, right? I just feel like, given that she came from a pseudo-criminal family, of which there's tons of evidence that exists, I reckon she did do it.
What I thought was interesting is some of the, I read out some of the characters before, and some of their crimes are post her conviction. And I wonder if the police were more aware of who they were and looking, maybe they were getting tested more by police.
Maybe they were doing it and they didn't get caught until then. Yeah.
Well, it was no. I'm thinking more that they may not have been doing it or not doing it any more than anyone else. You just mentioned before about the fact that you've used it. You would have had friends who had it. Who police would never have looked at.
Drug user.
Yeah, but you would have had people who would have had it on them, but they were never on the radar. Once she's gone through that, the whole family are on the radar.
There's nothing that says that they were killers. That's right. Okay. All right. I still think she did it.
I do think it's a shame when there's an opportunity to do a little bit more evidence gathering to potentially prove someone's guilt or innocence, like weighing the bags or doing the fingerprinting. That's an opportunity missed for a legal system.
Was the death penalty ever on the table?
I don't recall it. I recall there being talk of it, but I don't think it was ever like she was going to be put to death.
Because I absolutely think if you're going to put someone to death, you've got to do that work, right? The due diligence has to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe in the Indonesian system, it's like if you could prove that they didn't bring it in or there's a question, like going back to the Bali 9, right? Strapped to them, no question.
Yeah.
So maybe there is a lack of nuance there.
There was certainly the fact that smuggling that much, she could be put to death, but I don't think it was ever tabled as because it was so much about her being guilty or innocent, less about her getting put to death or not. The Bali 9 was very much they could be put to death,
but because they were guilty. Because there was no way of defending them to say they didn't do it.
And possibly because we'd learnt the year before or whatever it was from Schapelle's case that they don't fuck around with this stuff.
Sorry, Swanee. Go for it.
Oh, nothing. I've gone and had a look myself. I don't really know anything about the Bali 9, which is a bit embarrassing. Again, I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. But they were caught the other way, where they're bringing heroin from Indonesia to Australia. So where did they get caught, though?
In Indonesia. No, and there was talk that people in Australia, the Australian government, tipped off the Balinese police, which meant that they were going to get tried in Indonesia, not Australia. So I don't know whether that happened or not, but there was talk of that. And if you look at the 9 of them, some of them are so little. They're like...
Some of them are Indonesian, though, too, aren't they?
I have seen something there, maybe like a documentary with someone being interviewed, where one of them was sick or was going to be killed, and he had maybe a priest or something was going to see him, and how he...
Because some of them were executed,
one of the ones that got
executed,
I think.
Yeah.
I think it was Andrew.
Yeah, some were. And it might have been Balinese ones that were executed.
Yeah, because I remember it coming up a few years back, like it was very newsworthy, and people were still trying to fight for the
remaining 5 were returned to Australia in December 24. So
yeah, but I remember them still trying to fight for some of them who were up for execution. I feel like the line here for Schapelle was that they couldn't entirely prove one way or the other, and that's the weirdest thing. If you'd done the evidentiary, like if you'd followed the evidence, you could have said, well, she actually did it. Her fingerprints were all over it. It's a done deal. It's just kind of odd that they didn't.
I think there's probably a little bit of, well, if people did smuggle it, if it was Australian baggage handlers that smuggled it, in another country, you're kind of going, that's on you lot, right?
That's
our thing is you brought it into our country in your bags. I can't sit here and blame faceless people or nameless people. I can't be more lenient because of that. You show us the evidence. Don't make us go looking for that evidence. We've caught her red-handed, and there was no evidence forthcoming.
So what's our advice to people travelling through Asia? Never admit it's your bag. I said it at the start. Never say it's my bag. All right. So what do you think, Clarky? What do you and the crickets of Indigo Valley think?
As I said, I think she was caught with the drugs. I think her reaction to the verdict was of someone who was horrified, genuinely horrified, scared, all those things. But that could have been the fact that she was going to jail in Bali as opposed to being found guilty of something she didn't do.
Yeah,
I agree.
So I don't know. Like I said, I think for me the hardest thing is I didn't see anything concrete that said she didn't do it, and there wasn't a lot of reasonable doubt.
I don't know. I've always sort of like ignored it, if I'm really, really honest, because I wasn't there to start with. I missed the beginning of the story, so like it's in so many things. Like it's always referred to an Australian sort of folklore. Like if there was, I think she's probably in the latest ad for
Kelly.
Australia Day for the Lamb campaign when they're doing a flashing scene of all things that Australian. I reckon there's a picture of Schapelle, or they say Schapelle or something.
Yeah.
You know, in amongst with, you know, like Men at Work and I don't know, like just the Chinese, you know, succulent Chinese meal, and then they say, you know, Schapelle, like it's that kind of Aussie larrikin, yes. So I've never really wanted to know in some respects, sort of just like, oh God, I just know it's kind of a butt of a joke most of the time, is she's the butt of a joke, the way I hear it. So it's interesting to sort of hear where it comes from. And to be honest, I'm none the wiser in some respects either. You know, it sounds like no one really knows based on the way it was investigated, defended, her family. There's so many question marks, I guess, still.
Yeah.
Maybe we just go with what Renee said. She did it. She told me she'd done it more than once.
You know, I've got no reason to
Thanks,
Renee.
Renee said.
Renee. I just love it.
Renee, I've got no reason to disbelieve Renee, apart from the fact she's also a drug smuggler.
Maybe the reason to discount her is she's going, why are people taking the piss out of my name when there's someone called Schapelle?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Renee's a normal one.
It is. I think Renee's one of those. I think Renee's will be very pretty now. I used to go to school with a couple of Renees, but I think it's what we do to it with our Australian accent for a French name, like Renee. Renee.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well, but thank you, Clarky, and I appreciate the fact that no one died. So
yes,
that's a
You're
good
welcome.
one. We're none the wiser, but no one died, and Schapelle's still going strong. And he's hoping she's in the next series of I'm a Celebrity.
Or maths.
No pun intended.
Maybe she can go in
Get me out of here.
Oh,
I reckon she'd do well in maths. I reckon she'd sort some of those bitches out.
Oh, I tell you what, she should. Yeah. I reckon she'd be pretty good at that. All right. Well, great episode. Thanks, Clarky.
Yes, well done. Good story.
And as we say every week, miss you already.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.